The government has now stopped count them, four terrorist plots in the last 2 months. And one of those could have been the worst attack on America since 9/11.
I tell you, Pat, it is so scary. But even though the attacks have been prevented, the danger may not be over just yet. Reporter John Jessup has that story.
In New York, 24-year-old Afghan immigrant Najibullah Zazi charged with conspiracy to use weapons of mass destruction. More charges could follow in Denver.
I think this is as close as we have come since 9/11 to having a major terrorist attack on U.S. territory.
In addition to the New York plot, in Springfield, Illinois, 29-year-old Michael Finton arrested after attempting to blow up a federal courthouse. In Dallas, 19-year-old Hossam Hussein Smadi arrested after trying to blow up a skyscraper. And in Quantico, Virginia, 2 North Carolina suspects remain under arrest for plotting to attack a Marine base. Intelligence officials have warned the next terror attack could be homegrown. And in Najibullah Zazi's case, his bomb-making supplies came from unsuspecting places. Beauty supply stores. Officials say Zazi bought large quantities of hydrogen peroxide and acetone, a flammable material used to remove nail polish. They're the supplies he needed for a homemade bomb recipe written by al-Qaeda.
It's so readily available, and it flies under the radar when you purchase it.
In Illinois, Michael Finton, a man who idolized American Taliban soldier John Walker Lind, used a cell phone to try to detonate a bomb in front of a federal courthouse. But the explosives were fake, sold to him by an undercover agent. Now the Muslim convert faces charges in the same building he tried to blow up.
Talked about a number of different targets, including the FBI building, the Decatur Police Department.
The foiled plot by Hossam Hussein Smadi to blow up a 60-story office tower in Dallas was also an FBI sting.
It's a crazy world, and these are crazy times, and there are a lot of crazy people out there.
And although the plots were foiled, officials say the danger may not be over.
I think until they find all the bombs and all the bomb-making material, until they find everybody who was in the cell or willing to be in the cell, we still have a big problem.
Agents have some 20 suspects under 24-hour surveillance, all in an effort to keep breaking up these plots and preventing the murders America's enemies so desperately want to commit. John Jessup, CBN News, Washington.
Thanks, John. It's a tough call, ladies and gentlemen. They only have to succeed once. We have to block hundreds of attempts on our society, but we're doing it. Congratulations to the FBI and the other counterterrorism forces. Now, we have a news analyst, a terrorism analyst, Eric Stakelbeck. He's with us now from Washington. Eric, how many people are involved in this terrorism plot, do you think, that they've been catching?
Well, Pat, authorities tell me, and NYPD authorities told me on Wednesday when I was in New York City, that they're looking at as many as 24 suspects here. Now, 3 are already in custody, including, Pat, interestingly enough, an influential New York City imam, an Islamic religious leader, has been arrested as part of this plot. It's a very troubling signal. And from what authorities tell me, mass transit, subways, trains, buses, like we saw in London in 2005, like we saw in Madrid in 2004, were the likely targets here. And Najibullah Zazi, the ringleader of this alleged cell, had footage of Grand Central Station on his computer.
The people involved, the numbers of casualties would vastly dwarf 9/11, wouldn't it? I mean, we're talking about tens of thousands of people.
Well, Pat, it's difficult to say right now. With so many suspects, it could have been a massive style attack that could have killed hundreds, maybe thousands. Usually with these mass transit bombings, you'll see casualties, which is bad enough. In London, we had 52 people killed. In Madrid in 2004, we had 200 people killed. But those cells were smaller. This cell, apparently, according to some accounts, there were 3 groups of 4 men each who were looking to carry out these attacks, kind of reminiscent, Pat, of 9/11 when you had the hijackers broken off into separate teams. So with that in mind, with just the sheer number of suspects involved, there could have very well been a great number of casualties, although I don't know that it would have come near to the 3,000 that we saw on 9/11.
Has the FBI closed it up? Does it look like those cells are now inoperable?
Well, Attorney General Eric Holder says that the imminence of this threat has subsided. It was very imminent, but there are still 24 suspects at large, Pat, so the investigation is ongoing. I can tell you from being in New York City on Wednesday, I've never seen, since 9/11, I haven't seen security in New York City so tight as it is right now. They're on very, very high alert.
Eric Stakelbeck, thank you very much.
Thank you,
George
Pat.
Thomas has the rest of our top stories from the CBN newsroom. George, what do you have?
Thank you, Pat. Hello, everyone. President Barack Obama and the leaders of France and Britain say Iran has a secret nuclear facility similar to this one to produce nuclear fuel. And they are demanding Iran open up the plant to international inspectors. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told the UN the greatest threat facing the world is the marriage between religious fundamentalism and weapons of mass destruction.
The most urgent challenge facing this body today is to prevent the tyrants of Tehran from acquiring nuclear weapons. Are the members of the United Nations up to that challenge?
Netanyahu says Iran's nuclear weapons would be a threat for the whole world and not just Israel. Christians have a differing view on the huge Muslim prayer rally set for today on Capitol Hill. Patrick Mahoney of the Christian Defense Coalition says Christians must show they love the Muslim community and that the rally shows the greatness of America. Other leaders, like Tony Perkins of the Family Research Council, wonder if the Muslims are really praying for the well-being of America. But one of the rally's organizers tells Fox News that, quote, the purpose is Islamic unity, so we can display the beauty of Islam. And we want to let America know that we are here and we support the country. We will have a full report on the rally on Monday, 700 Club. The dollar could be even weaker after this weekend's G20 summit of leading economic powers in Pittsburgh. China has already called for a new global currency as an alternative to the dollar for international trade. But few analysts expect the dollar will actually be replaced anytime soon. Instead, they believe the dollar will keep falling on the value over time on the international currency markets because the economic policies of the United States and other countries. Pat, do you get a sense that the pressure from the Chinese, the Russians, the Indians is really going up as we continue to mismanage our economy here?
George, we're living in a historic time as far as I can see. We no longer will be the leader of finance in the world. We have been ever since the Bretton Woods Accords at the end of World War II. Our dollar was considered next to gold, the prime source of wealth and was relied upon as a reserve currency throughout the world. It won't be anymore. The profligate policies of our leaders, and it's not just Obama, it goes back to George Bush and his team as well, but the profligate policies which ignored the dollar ran up enormous debts. Our debt load might hit as high as $20 trillion. And there's no way we're going to pay that off, and the world knows it. So the only way to pay it off is to inflate our currency, and so we'll pay off with cheap dollars. But look out, ladies and gentlemen, for your own safety and your own financial security. The dollar just won't be as good in the coming years. And right now, as a matter of fact, the world's leaders are saying we aren't going to accept the dollar as the reserve currency of the world. That's going to hurt.
Well, Pat, you've mentioned several times throughout the program, for months and months, the value of gold. Should we start buying up gold rather than the dollar?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And other currencies, too. I mean, at CBN, we've put some of the reserves we've had into Australian dollars. They're up about 20-some%, 25%. We put them into Canadian dollars. Other countries, their currencies are so much better than the dollar. It's a shame, you know. Ronald Reagan used to tell the joke about the man in the hospital, you know, he said, "How's your heart?" He said, "It's as sound as the dollar." He said, the man fainted dead away when they told him that.
Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg was hospitalized overnight. The 76-year-old justice became ill at work after receiving a treatment for iron deficiency. A statement from the court said she was experiencing lightheadedness and a slightly low blood pressure. Ginsburg was examined and found to be in normal health. Doctors at a Washington hospital admitted her Thursday evening and kept her overnight for precautionary measures. Ginsburg is battling pancreatic cancer and had surgery earlier this year. Floodwaters are beginning to recede in parts of Alabama and Georgia today, and residents are salvaging as much as they can from their waterlogged homes. Torrential rains caused more than $250 million of flood damage in Georgia alone. CBN's Operation Blessing is in the region, providing help to thousands of victims. In the past 2 days, the aid organization has already delivered more than 92,000 pounds of food, water, diapers, and other disaster relief supplies. And Operation Blessing is also helping several families clean up their whole houses, the first step in rebuilding their homes. You can find out more by going to Operation Blessing's website. It's ob.org.